Hey guys, it's me again. This is part 2 of our Age of Exploration video. We first talked about the causes of European exploration. I almost said explanation again, but I caught myself. We discussed how Age of Exploration was led to because of the new inventions and ideas and how people wanted three things. Now, if you've been studying, you should know these three things. Um, I always say land, wealth, and power. But for these reasons, for your test, you should know gold, glory, and God. Okay? Gold, glory, and God. Those are three main reasons why people went exploring, trying to find new lands. Um, which honestly is all the same thing as wealth, money, land, power, all equal up the same thing. We discussed as you've been doing your stations in class, you should have learned about Prince Henry the Navigator, how he was a Portuguese prince and naval commander who founded a navigation school for sailors. Okay, and that he paid for many expeditions to the west coast of Africa. If I showed you the vocabulary video, which I did forget for several of my classes, he was also the first person to find a trade route to India. Okay. So today we are going to be talking about the different empires that took part in the Age of Exploration: Portugal, Spain, England, and France. So beginning in 1415, if you hear that, that's my dog in the bathroom. She's, I locked her up. Beginning in 1415, Portugal led the world in sea exploration. For nearly 100 years, the Portuguese explored the west coast of Africa and established trade and riches in labor. In 1497, Vasco da Gama sailed from the Cape of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa and continued on to India. His crew was the first group of Europeans to reach India by sea. So let's X out what I said before about Prince Henry being the first. My bad. Okay, but let's keep going. Moving on. Teachers can be wrong. It's not a problem. So, this is supposed to be Vasco da Gama. Next, the Portuguese established settlements in Brazil and in South America. Brazil became Portugal's most profitable colony as it provided gold and sugar for the country. Brazil remained a Portuguese colony until 1822. And unfortunately, you did have slaves at this time because those were the cheapest ways to work the sugarcane lands. Over the following decades, Portuguese sailors continued to explore the coasts and islands of East Asia and Africa. Portugal was more interested in trade than in taking over land and its people. Trade meant money. Okay, you can remember the spices that people wanted. Trade meant money. That's what they wanted was money. By 1571, a string of trading posts connected Portugal with Africa, India, the South Pacific Islands, and Japan. That's a lot. All right, Spain. Let's talk about good old Spain. Spain's exploration and colonization was led by the voyage of Christopher Columbus in 1492. He sailed the ocean blue. We all heard that nursery rhyme since elementary school. Columbus is an Italian. He's not, believe it or not, he is not Spain. He's not Spanish or a Spaniard. He is Italian. He was given ships and sailors by the Spanish monarchy. His goal was to find a quick route to Asia through the Atlantic Ocean. He never made it to Asia, but he actually landed in the Bahamas. Exploration of this new world brought great wealth to Spain because what they found in the Bahamas was rum. In 1519, Spain financed a voyage of Ferdinand Magellan, a Portuguese explorer. Magellan sailed south and west around the tip of South America and finally reached the Philippine Islands after 18 months at sea. Could you imagine it being on water for 18 months? Talking about having your sea legs. Magellan died there, but his crew returned to Spain after sailing around the world and proved that the earth was round. Remember, I discussed in our last video how many people thought the earth was square, that people who never came back from exploring, people believe that they had fallen off the earth. So as you can see in this map, you have, I don't know if y'all can see my mouse, but maybe you can. You have Magellan who left from Spain. Remember, Spain is right in here again. Hopefully you can see it. And then Portugal was right here attached to Spain. So Magellan left, went down around South America and over. He literally went across the world and came up to the backside of Asia. And then he oops, sorry, I don't know why my computers did that. Then he came back up and back to Spain. Then you had Columbus, who just did a nice little Atlantic tour. And then you have Da Gama, who came down and around and over. Now, same thing for Prince Henry. Prince Henry, the navigator, he came down Africa as well. The Spanish Empire was one of the largest in history. Okay, because Spain, they fought for what they wanted. Spain wanted England. Unfortunately, they didn't get England, but they sure fought hard for it. Spain claimed huge areas of North and South America and established colonies there and ruled parts of them for 300 years. Spain also established a few small settlements along the North African coast to protect its trade interests. The empire stretched to Asia, where Spain controlled the Philippines until almost the 20th century. Guys, remember in the video, stop, back it up, do whatever you gotta do. This is not a game, not a rush. I'm just here to help you in the best way I can. Now, this map right here, shows you Spain's control. Okay, Spain controlled most of this, South America, most of the south part of North America, some parts in Africa, and a lot of the islands over by Japan. The British Empire, now let's talk about England, the big bad England. England was known for a lot of things. Its naval, which is your ships, its religion, because remember, England was one of the ones who wanted to be Protestant while Spain was Catholic. That caused kind of a rift between them. But anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the age of exploration. So England. The British Empire was the largest in history. At its peaks in the 1900s, it controlled 1/5 of the world's land, with colonies in Canada, Australia, India, Eastern Africa, and numerous islands across the world. In the 1920s, 1/4 of the world's population was under British control. Australia, to this day, is still under British control. It was said that the sun never sets on the British Empire because it's always daylight at some location in the British Empire. That's a good point, because if you think about all the places where England has control, we all live in different time zones. So that's how they got the expression. So the British, like it was saying, controlled Canada. So you have your North America. There's your Europe. That's where British is. Some parts of Africa, India, and all of Australia. In 1600, England chartered the East India Company to trade in India and Southeast Asia and establish a strong presence there. That is a big term for you to understand. The East Indian Company. Big term. Like if I could make it flash, I would. In 1858, India came under British rule. In the 1600s and 1700s, England established tobacco plantations in the Caribbean islands and colonies along North America's east coast. North America's east coast. England explored Australia in the 1600s and established a strong colony presence there in 1788 after the American colonies became independent. So, to this day, like I said, Australia is still under England law. Okay? England established its colonies for mercantilism, another big word, flash, 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 flash. And that is an economic policy where the colonies help the mother country by providing natural resources and a market for goods produced in the mother country. In essence, the mother country is England. So if they were, think about the tobacco that we were just talking about in the last slide, um, the Caribbeans produced the natural resource tobacco, and it had a market for, and there was a market for this good, so it made money for England. British explorers hoped to find raw materials that they could use to manufacture goods in their own country. Okay, now France. Let's talk about the French. In 1608, Samuel de Champlain, I'm not good at speaking of French terms, so Champlain sailed to the northern part of North America and founded the colony of Quebec as a trading post. Hence why Quebec speaks French. French explorers traveled along the Mississippi River and claimed the central part of what is now the U.S. By the 1700s, France controlled Canada, central U.S., several islands of the Caribbean, and outposts in India and on the West African coast. Now, I want you to picture this. So far, Spain, Portugal, England, and France all have a claim on Africa. Now, if I counted correctly, that is 4 people trying out for Africa. That seems to be a problem. So you have Spain here, the English colonies here on the, excuse me about the sneeze, on the coastline, and then France down through the middle. France possessed colonies around the world from 1600 to the 1900s. It also dominated much of the European continent during the reign of Napoleon I. By 1812, France controlled much of Germany, Italy, and Spain. In the 19th and 20th centuries, only the British Empire was larger than the French Empire. That's insane. That's huge. If the French Empire was bigger than the British Empire, that's pretty big. These are the different routes that the different explorers took to find their areas, and it kind of shows you a good location of where they might have landed. Just a nice little colonial expansion map that I wanted y'all to see. Alright, so we are going to stop there, and we will come back to the colonization of Australia at a different time. We also have a whole unit on Australia, so for this, you'll just get the most important things that apply to this unit. Please make sure that you're studying your notes. It is very important that you're studying your notes because remember, this is a lot of information. Okay? If you need anything, just let me know.